Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the Coach by Charlie education section. This video is going to be in the gaining phase mistake series and it's going to be on routine, something super important regardless if you're in a dieting phase, a gaining phase, or you're just at maintenance if you want to maximise your progress. So, routine, why am I kind of touching on this episode? So when people get into a gaining phase, people can potentially let their routine and their time management slip and overall just become a bit complacent, take the foot off the gas. And while this is a time where you want to maybe take the foot off the gas, maybe a touch in certain areas, and you can be a touch more flexible, it is also the position where we build muscle. We don't build much muscle when we're dieting. We don't build as much muscle when we're maintaining. So if we're being really relaxed when we're gaining, if we're dropping our routine, our structure, and all the kind of positive things and habits we've got in place that helps us progress, then next time we diet down, we probably won't make much progress. So it's a time where we make progress, so we want our actions to be in a good spot and allow us to maximise our progress as a result of that. So it's a balancing act. In bodybuilding, for example, they refer to it as off-season. But there's not any off-season in the fact that you're not competing on stage, but there's not really any off-season. A better kind of way to talk about a gaining phase is an improvement season instead of an off-season, because that seems like you're backing off and you're taking your foot off the gas, which shouldn't be the case. It should just be you're being a bit more flexible here and there, etc., in certain kind of ways so that you can not burn out mentally and be nice and fresh to diet next time you diet down again. And yeah, people lose a sense of urgency. They become relaxed and they become complacent, which we obviously don't want. That's going to reflect on our progress and we're not going to progress as much. So this is something massively important. So yeah, it's not the time to take the foot off the gas if you want to maximise things. And if you only nail your variables when you're dieting, so if you're on the ball when you're dieting, you drop that when you're gaining, like I said, your progress will reflect it. So it is time for more flexibility, but only to a certain extent if you want to make the most of your progress. So how do we fix this? How do we stop becoming complacent when we're in a gaining phase? So have a sense of urgency still. Don't drop your goals. Have a sense of urgency and kind of work back from your long-term goals and have both shorter-term goals as a result. What I mean by that is if you know you've got a dieting phase coming up and you want to be lean for next year, then obviously if you're part of the coaching process, I will obviously be helping you do this. But then realise, right, if you're dieting, let's say you've got a year to get lean, right? That means 3 months will be spent dieting. Realistically, you only have 9 months of gaining, which isn't a long period of time in the grand scheme of things. That 9 months is going to fly in. So kind of work back, thinking, right, how much sessions have I got to improve this body part? And maybe you might have a mini cut in there. So in reality, if you kind of work back that timeline and realise how much time you have until your goal, it gives you a sense of urgency. And give yourself short-term goals, like performance goals in the gym, like hitting certain lifts by a certain date and hitting certain lifts before you start dieting down again. And that's going to help give you a sense of urgency. So instead of staying up and watching an episode of Netflix, you'll be thinking, right, I've got this goal to hit. I need to make sure my actions reflect that. So you get an early night, etc. And if you do map out your goals, both short and long term, then if you'll basically be like, right, my actions aren't in line with this goal or whatever. Like if you are, you'll realise like this is counterproductive. If you know you've got set in stone goals you want to achieve, it gives you that sense of accountability to being consistent because you know you want to hit them. And also realise the value. Like if we don't realise the value in something, we probably won't do it. So something very important is linking a task to its value. Meaning if you just think, well, I should probably sleep well, but you don't think, right, why should I actually sleep well? Whereas if you think, right, if I want to progress in tomorrow's session, I need a quality sleep. So, and if I don't, then I'm not going to make the progress I want. I'm going to be disappointed with how my dieting phase will go and how I look at the end of it. So there, like, obviously you're just thinking it's just sleep. Whereas if you can link it to your goal, link it, your task to kind of helping you reach that goal, and then when you're kind of working towards them, kind of highlight when you do tick your boxes, and that's going to create that sense of kind of satisfaction and create some more like enjoyability behind it, if that makes sense. So link your daily tasks to your long-term goals pretty much. And also make it attractive. So we thrive off short-term gratification. We don't thrive off long-term gratification. Like that's why people struggle to hit their goals, because it's obviously good hitting your long-term goals, like big goals, but you don't get that satisfaction short-term. You get it on a very long-term. What I mean by that is if you're wanting to lose weight, if you're wanting to drop, let's say, a stone, then you don't get the satisfaction of it on the first day if you don't lose weight and you don't see any change in the scale. Whereas if, let's say, you eat food choice that is enjoyable, you get short-term satisfaction from it. So it's learning to not maybe base our actions on what's going to be gratifying short-term, if that makes sense. And or negative short-term gratification. What I mean by that is, instead of focusing on enjoyment from food choices, etc., what you can do is create other short-term gratification to thrive off, like creating a checklist. And it seems very minor, but if you kind of tick your boxes on a daily basis off like a checklist, a whiteboard, etc., you get such a feeling of kind of satisfaction from doing that. So that can then kind of help you kind of crave wanting to tick other boxes from that sense of dopamine you get. So that's something that I do myself, like having a checklist, I think helps massively. And it gives you a sense of reward, and you can also give yourself another sense of reward. Like, if I tick my goals this week, if I stick to the plan, I'll treat myself to this or that, etc. And also make it easy. So make it easy to stick to your routine, make it easy to be consistent. So find ways to make sticking to a plan as effective and easy as possible, like cooking your food in bulk to save time cooking, like preparing for the weekend, performing your sessions when you perform and you're going to adhere to it best. So instead of just thinking about being more disciplined, which we obviously want to think about, right, how can we make our routine easy to stick to? How can we make being consistent as easy and streamlined as possible? And that's going to require less willpower and make it a bit easier to stick to the plan, etc. So where should we have structure and routine? So there's many areas we can kind of try and automate and have structure and routine. And automating, the benefit of like automating tasks or automating part of our routine is it reduces the mental focus needed. What I mean by that is, if we don't have to, let's say you needed to focus on breathing, it's going to be really it's going to be hard to kind of go about any other daily task, if that makes sense. Same applies for your fitness goals. Like, if you can automate as much as possible so you don't have to kind of think about it, it's going to be less kind of mentally demanding, it's going to be less time consuming, and you're not going to have to, it's not going to be as hard to stick to long term, if that makes sense, because it's just not going to be as much of a pain in the arse, simple as that. So it reduces the mental focus you need on a daily basis. It ensures they are nailed in a way that works for you if you can automate them, because you find out what works and you just run with it. You're not kind of winging it. And it helps you accumulate little wins unconsciously, which will mount up towards your goal. And some things you can look to automate and create routine around are things like your sleep and wake time. So if you can make your sleep and wake the same time, that's going to help you absolutely massively. And if you do so, the rest of your day falls into place. Your meal times are going to be more consistent. Your training time's probably going to be more consistent. Your sleep quality is going to be better. You're probably not going to be as stressed because you know roughly when you're going to get each thing done in the day, because your days look similar. Whereas if you get up and go to bed at different times all the time, then you won't have as much of a routine. Your meals will be spaced differently and you'll start eating at a different time each day, etc. So if you can make your sleep time the same and wake time the same, then the rest of your day can somewhat fall into place. I think that's something massively important. Thank you very much for watching the video. The full video is available for my online coaching clients in the Coach by Charlie education section. If you are interested in online coaching or where else you can find me, please feel free to have a look at the links in the description. And lastly, if you did enjoy the video, any support is greatly appreciated, so drop me a like, comment what you enjoyed about it, and lastly, subscribe for more content from myself.